Marcus Thompson had always dreamed of visiting Buckingham Palace with his family. After saving money for 2 years, he finally brought his wife Sarah and their 3-year-old daughter Emma to London. The little girl had been fascinated by princess stories, and Marcus wanted to show her where real royalty lived. The morning started perfectly. Emma wore her favorite pink dress and carried a small stuffed bear. She giggled with excitement as they walked through the palace gates, pointing at everything with wonder. Sarah took dozens of photos, capturing Emma's bright smile and curious expressions. But by afternoon, everything began to fall apart. Emma had missed her usual nap time, and the crowds were overwhelming. The little girl became cranky and started crying loudly. Other tourists began staring and whispering complaints about the noise. Marcus felt embarrassed and tried everything to calm his daughter down. The family found themselves near the famous royal guards who stood perfectly still in their red uniforms and tall black hats. Emma was fascinated by these statue-like men and wanted to get closer. Marcus lifted her up so she could see better, hoping this would distract her from her tiredness. "Look, Emma. See the pretty soldiers?" Sarah whispered, trying to keep her voice down. But Emma was beyond being easily soothed. She had been walking for hours, was hungry, and desperately needed rest. Her cries grew louder and more frustrated. Other visitors started moving away from the family, giving them dirty looks. Some people made rude comments about parents who couldn't control their children. Marcus felt his face burning with embarrassment and anger. He had spent so much money on this trip, and now it was turning into a nightmare. The royal guard standing nearest to them remained perfectly motionless, staring straight ahead as he had been trained to do. His job required him to ignore all distractions, no matter how loud or disruptive. But Emma's crying was becoming more intense, and Marcus was running out of patience. Sarah suggested they leave and find a quiet place for Emma to rest. But Marcus had become stubborn. He had paid good money to be there, and he wasn't going to let a few rude strangers ruin their vacation. He bounced Emma in his arms, trying different ways to comfort her. But nothing worked. The situation was about to get much worse. Marcus had no idea that his frustration was building toward a moment that would shock everyone around him and change how he saw the world forever. The peaceful tourist day was about to become something nobody would ever forget. Emma's crying reached a new level of intensity. Her face was red and streaked with tears, and she began kicking her legs frantically in Marcus's arms. The toddler was completely overwhelmed by the noise, crowds, and unfamiliar surroundings. Nothing her parents tried seemed to help. "She needs her stroller," Sarah said urgently. "Maybe if we put her down, she'll calm down." They had left the stroller nearby while trying to get closer to the guards. Marcus reluctantly agreed and went to fetch it, his jaw clenched with frustration. As he struggled to unfold the stroller with one hand while holding his screaming daughter with the other, a well-dressed elderly woman approached them. Her expression was stern and disapproving. "Excuse me," she said loudly enough for others to hear, "but your child is disturbing everyone. This is a place of dignity and respect." Marcus felt his temper flare. "She's just tired," he replied sharply. "We're tourists, and we have every right to be here." The woman sniffed disdainfully and walked away, but her words had stung. Marcus noticed more people staring at them with annoyed expressions. Sarah tried to help by taking Emma, but the little girl had worked herself into such a state that she refused to be comforted by anyone. She arched her back, screamed louder, and knocked Sarah's hat to the ground. The situation was spiraling completely out of control. A security guard started walking toward their family, and Marcus panicked. He imagined being asked to leave, having their vacation ruined, and facing more judgment from strangers. His pride and frustration mixed together into a dangerous combination. "This is ridiculous," Marcus muttered angrily, shoving Emma into the stroller with more force than necessary. The little girl's cries became even more desperate. Other tourists were now openly staring, and some were taking out their phones to record the scene. Sarah grabbed Marcus's arm. "Let's just go," she pleaded. "We can come back another time when Emma's feeling better." But Marcus was beyond reasonable, thinking now. He felt humiliated in front of all these people, and his anger was looking for somewhere to go. The royal guard continued standing perfectly still, following his training despite the chaos happening just feet away from him. His discipline was impressive, but to Marcus the guard's stillness felt like mockery. Here was someone who seemed completely unbothered by his family's struggle. Marcus's hands gripped the stroller handle tightly as his anger built to a dangerous point. Sarah could see the warning signs in her husband's expression, but she had no idea what was about to happen. The crowd around them had no clue they were about to witness something that would shock them all. The moment that changed everything happened in a flash. Marcus, overwhelmed by embarrassment and rage, lost complete control of his emotions. Without thinking clearly, he grabbed the stroller and hurled it toward the motionless royal guard. Emma was still strapped inside, screaming as the stroller flew through the air. Gasps echoed through the crowd as people watched in horror. Phones came out immediately, capturing the shocking scene from multiple angles. Sarah screamed her daughter's name and rushed forward, her heart pounding with terror for her child's safety. The stroller crashed to the ground just feet away from the royal guard, who remained perfectly still despite the chaos erupting around him. Emma's cries became even more panicked as she found herself suddenly on the ground, still strapped in but thankfully uninjured. The stroller had landed on its side, but Emma was protected by the safety harnesses and padding. "Oh my God, what have you done?" Sarah cried, immediately running to Emma and carefully lifting her from the overturned stroller. The little girl clung to her mother, sobbing with fear and confusion. Other tourists began shouting angrily at Marcus, calling him crazy and demanding that security arrest him immediately. Marcus stood frozen, suddenly realizing the terrible thing he had just done. His anger disappeared instantly, replaced by horror and shame as he saw his daughter's frightened face. He had put his own child in danger because he couldn't control his temper. The weight of his actions hit him like a physical blow. Security guards rushed toward the scene, speaking quickly into their radios. The crowd grew larger as more people gathered to see what had happened. Some tourists were already uploading videos to social media, and Marcus knew his moment of rage would soon be seen by thousands of people around the world. But then something completely unexpected happened. The royal guard, who had remained perfectly still throughout the entire incident, suddenly moved. Breaking from his rigid position for the first time, he walked directly toward the overturned stroller and began examining it carefully. "Sir, please step back," one of the security guards called to him. "We need to handle this situation." But the royal guard ignored the order and continued his inspection. The crowd fell silent, confused by this unusual behavior. Royal guards were famous for never breaking character, no matter what happened around them. Sarah held Emma tightly, watching the guard with curiosity, despite her anger at her husband. Marcus remained frozen in place, expecting to be arrested at any moment. Nobody could understand why the guard had suddenly abandoned his post and protocol to examine a child's stroller. The royal guard stood up slowly, his expression serious but calm. What he did next would surprise everyone present and turn Marcus's moment of shame into something none of them would ever forget. The royal guard, whose name was James Mitchell, carefully picked up the stroller and began examining every part of it with professional attention. The crowd watched in stunned silence as he checked the wheels, the safety harnesses, and the frame for any damage that might make it unsafe for the little girl. "The wheel axle is bent," he announced clearly, his voice carrying the authority of his position. "This stroller is not safe to use." He looked directly at Sarah, who was still holding Emma. "Ma'am, if you had continued using this without knowing about the damage, it could have collapsed while you were walking." Marcus felt confused and ashamed. He stepped forward hesitantly. I'm so sorry," he stammered. "I don't know what came over me. I put my daughter in danger because I was angry. I deserve to be arrested." James Mitchell looked at Marcus with steady, calm eyes. "Sir, accidents happen when people are under stress," he said quietly. "What matters now is that your daughter is safe and you've learned that this stroller had a dangerous defect you couldn't have known about." Sarah stared at the guard in amazement. "Are you saying the stroller was already broken?" she asked. James nodded and pointed to the bent metal. This type of damage doesn't happen from one impact. This has been weakening over time. If it had failed while your wife was pushing your daughter down some stairs or across a busy street, the implication hung in the air. Marcus felt his knees go weak as he realized what could have happened. The stroller they had been using all day, trusting it to keep Emma safe, had been on the verge of a dangerous failure. His moment of terrible judgment had accidentally revealed a problem that could have seriously injured his daughter later. Other tourists began murmuring among themselves, their anger toward Marcus shifting to concern and confusion. Some people started examining their own strollers more carefully. A few parents thanked James for the safety warning and began checking their own equipment. "How did you know to look for that?" Sarah asked the guard. James's expression softened slightly. "I have a 2-year-old daughter myself," he explained. "I've seen this type of failure before. When I saw the stroller hit the ground, something about the way it bounced looked wrong." Security guards approached the group, but James raised his hand to stop them. "This was a safety inspection," he told his colleagues firmly. "No crime has been committed here. This father just discovered his daughter's stroller was dangerous, and now it can be properly replaced before anyone gets hurt." The crowd began to understand what had really happened. Marcus's moment of anger had accidentally led to discovering a serious safety problem. Some people started applauding James for his quick thinking and compassion. Others approached Marcus with understanding instead of judgment. Emma had stopped crying and was looking curiously at the tall guard in his impressive uniform. James smiled at her gently and gave her a small, informal salute that made her giggle for the first time in hours. James Mitchell's kindness didn't stop with the safety inspection. He radioed to his supervisor and requested a brief break from his post. Within minutes, another guard arrived to take his position, and James was free to help the struggling family properly. "There's a baby supply store just 2 blocks from here," James told Sarah and Marcus. "They sell quality strollers and the owner is a friend of mine. I can walk with you there if you'd like." His offer was so unexpected and generous that Sarah began crying with gratitude. Marcus was overwhelmed with shame and appreciation. "Why are you helping us?" he asked quietly. "I threw my daughter's stroller. I could have hurt her. I embarrassed my family and caused a scene. You should hate me." James looked at Marcus with understanding eyes. "I've been there," he admitted. "Not exactly the same situation, but I know what it's like to be a frustrated father. Last month, I lost my temper at a playground when another parent criticized how I was watching my daughter. I said things I regretted immediately. The crowd around them had mostly dispersed, but several tourists stayed to listen to the conversation. They were witnessing something rare and beautiful. One stranger helping another through a moment of crisis with genuine compassion instead of judgment. "Being a parent is the hardest job in the world," James continued as they walked toward the store. "We all make mistakes when we're tired and stressed. What defines us is how we learn from those mistakes and do better next time." Emma was walking between her parents now, holding both their hands and chattering excitedly about the nice soldier man. Her earlier meltdown was forgotten, and she seemed fascinated by James's uniform and formal bearing. He answered her simple questions with patience and humor. At the baby store, James spoke with the owner in quiet tones while Sarah and Marcus looked at strollers. Within minutes, the store owner approached them with a smile. "James tells me you had a safety issue with your current stroller," he said warmly. "Let me show you our most reliable models." Marcus started to explain that they couldn't afford an expensive new stroller on their vacation budget, but the store owner waved away his concerns. "James is one of our best customers," he explained. "Any friend of his gets our family discount. Plus, I'd rather sell a safe stroller at a lower price than worry about a child getting hurt." They found a perfect stroller that Emma loved because it had cup holders and a small storage pouch where she could keep her stuffed bear. As Marcus reached for his wallet to pay the reduced price, James quietly handed the store owner his credit card instead. "You don't need to do this," Marcus protested. "You've already done too much." But James shook his head firmly. "I want to do this. Consider it a gift from one father to another. We all need help sometimes." Sarah hugged James impulsively, tears streaming down her face. "Thank you for showing us that there are still kind people in the world," she whispered. You turned the worst day of our vacation into something beautiful. The story of Marcus and the Royal Guard spread quickly across social media, but not in the way Marcus had feared. Instead of becoming a viral video about an angry parent, it became a heartwarming story about unexpected kindness and second chances. People shared it with captions about compassion, understanding, and the power of helping strangers. James Mitchell received praise from his supervisors for his professional handling of an unusual situation. More importantly, he had helped transform a moment of shame into a lesson about parenting, forgiveness, and community support. The incident became a training example for other Royal Guards about thinking creatively while maintaining their duties. Marcus and Sarah returned to their hotel that evening with a new perspective on their vacation and their relationship. Emma played happily with her stuffed bear in the new stroller, completely unaware of how dramatically her day had changed. The family spent their remaining days in London exploring parks and museums, with Emma proudly pointing out every Royal Guard they saw. "That's my friend James's job," she would tell other tourists, and Sarah and Marcus would smile at the memory of how one man's kindness had saved their family trip. They sent James a thank you card with photos of Emma enjoying the rest of their vacation. 6 months later, Marcus received an unexpected package at his home address. Inside was a small photo frame containing a picture of James in his full Royal Guard uniform, along with a handwritten note. "Dear Marcus, Sarah, and Emma," it read. "I hope you're all doing well. Emma's smile reminded me why I love my job. Thank you for letting me help. Your friend James." The experience changed how Marcus handled stressful situations with his family. When Emma had difficult moments in public, he remembered James's words about parenting being the hardest job in the world. Instead of getting angry, he looked for solutions and asked for help when he needed it. Marcus also began volunteering at a local community center, helping other parents navigate challenging situations with their children. He shared his story, honestly, including his moment of poor judgment, to show others that everyone makes mistakes and deserves compassion. Sarah often told friends about the day a Royal Guard taught them that kindness could appear in the most unexpected places. She kept James's photo on their kitchen counter as a daily reminder to look for ways to help other families who might be struggling. Emma, now older, still remembered the nice soldier man who helped her family. When she played with toy soldiers, she always made them help people instead of fighting. Her parents never corrected this version of what soldiers do, because James had shown them that the best kind of strength is the kind used to lift others up. The viral video eventually disappeared from social media, replaced by newer stories and trends. But the impact of that one moment of kindness continued rippling outward through the lives of everyone it had touched, proving that sometimes our worst moments can become the foundation for our best ones.